I was remembering, many years even before I got involved with the Brahma Kumaris, and I was in Chicago, and I was staying at the home of this woman and her family. She had a big family, 6, 7 kids. She was Italian, and she was very affiliated to her church. And I was there for a few days, and it's only as I look back on it that I see it. And maybe I was there a week, and every other day she was getting a call. You know, the church was calling or the priest was calling, and she would drop whatever she was doing and she would run off to help some poor, unfortunate soul. But the thing was, although it seemed like a very charitable and compassionate thing that she was doing, her family suffered. Where's mom? Where's the dinner? You know, and so it was almost like as if she always gave priority to being the hero in a situation. What's heroic about cooking dinner for your kids? Nothing, right? That's just a chore. That's your duty, you know. Doesn't have to be, but that the other thing was much more adventurous and much more exciting. But she wasn't seeing that it wasn't true compassion. And the other sort of scenario that I've seen, again, when I was in where you used to be? Thank you, Cape Town. I've been in too many towns. In Cape Town, and a young woman, young African woman, and she's a poet, and she shared with us how at one point when she was working that she had been sexually harassed by her boss, and later on she discovered that she wasn't the only one. You know, it was epidemic proportions. We know this story. And anyway, he was brought to justice and taken to court and everything. And then she was sharing how, and it took a long time, you know, as they say, the wheels of justice grind slowly. And then at some point, she began to feel compassion for him. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Before it was like, yeah, let's get him, and he did this to so many women, and you know, justice has to be served, and you know, I'll give evidence or whatever. I'm ready to make sure that he is punished for his crime. But at some other point, compassion kicked in. Why do you think that was? Because actually compassion is the real nature. The other thing, you really have to work hard to sustain hatred or malice or to not forgive somebody. You really have to work hard at it. Whereas if love and compassion's my real nature, you don't have to make too much effort for it. Give it, you know, any little encouragement. Again, an incident a little bit like that mother, and I've even seen this with people I know, and where again, as soon as they see somebody's in distress, they're there like a bullet, you know. Like especially, I'm not talking now a situation where somebody's fallen to the ground with a medical condition or they're cut or something, but somebody's just in distress, they're upset about something, they've had an argument with somebody, and the person goes straight for them and is very solicitous and caring. But the strange thing is that as well as recognizing the victim, they're also very clear about who the villain is, right? Not even having checked out both sides of the story. All I see is you, the victim, and I've already determined that other one is the villain. And so now that one, who really may not have been the one who's at fault, now has two enemies, both the victim and the what will we call the merciful one, the compassionate one, the rescuer. There you are, the rescuer. And again, that person came in time to recognize the role playing that was going on, because sometimes, although it looks like as if our concern is about that person, but it is really some unfinished business to do with ourselves, when at a time, maybe as a child or an adult, no one was there for me, right? And so I'm trying to deal with those, not in a conscious way. All this goes on subconsciously. And so I'm trying to do for you what I wished had been done for me. And again, it's not wrong, but I need to recognize it, and then the wisdom can come into it. But it's not entirely clean, because when you think wisdom, what word goes with wisdom? Huh? Knowledge, age? Age, no guarantee. Sorry. I know 5-year-olds that have more wisdom than 50-year-olds. Yeah, my brother said it. Truth. That if there's wisdom, it means there's truth. And there's something not entirely true or clean about that expression of compassion. Do you understand? As I say, it's not wrong, but part of the whole game should be about me discovering myself, and part of that is acknowledging maybe pain, or hurt that's inside me, and how I process it, and how sometimes it can be inward, sometimes it can be outward. The words will come out, and they won't be kind words. They'll be damaging words. Or inwards, it's kind of like, an implosion or an explosion. Do you recognize this with people? Because mostly behind all of these things, there is pain that's not been attended to. And so the thing is, it could even have been some form of violence. And the violence may have finished, but what am I going to do with the pain? So now we're talking about compassion for yourself. And compassion for yourself requires something of an inner journey, requires honesty. So again, compassion, you cannot separate honesty from compassion. You can't separate gentleness or kindness or even innocence from compassion. So that the compassion has to be filled with many colors, And honesty is a big, big part of it. And so that thing of what is compassion for yourself? It's about being gentle with yourself. Sometimes it's even having the courage to be gentle with your own self. And also within that, getting a new way of seeing yourself and of experiencing yourself. And if you just go with this basic premise that we started with, that my real nature is love. That's my real nature. My real nature is peace. My real nature is wisdom or truth. And then begin that inner conversation, with your own self. And it's about you determining to at least reduce the pain, because it will make you do not nice things. And as I say, sometimes when it comes out, other people get very damaged. You didn't mean it. We had a talk last evening, day before, in PE, and there was a gentleman came up afterwards, and he was saying, and he had tears in his eyes, and he said, I've been looking everywhere, and he was a member of the church and everything, and he said, I never got any answers. And he said, tonight I got the answer. He said, I wasn't even meant to be here, but I was just giving company to my wife because I know she likes these things, but it's not really my department, but just to give her company. And so I was curious, well, what was it that made the difference? He said, I'm OCD, I'm bipolar, and he said, tonight has changed my life. Could anybody guess what it was? I certainly couldn't have guessed, and I'm thinking, what did we say that made such an impact on him? Or was it the meditation that sometimes does it? And he said, I learned tonight that all the pain, all the trauma in my family, I'm the cause of it. Does that resonate with anybody? So it's that thing of taking responsibility for yourself, but not as a punishment, not because you've been, the difficult one in your family or circle of friends or whatever. We've also been talking about how you really can change your life, that you can change. We've been calling it this last few days that through meditation and through this deep inner exploration, if you like, that you can become a shapeshifter, that you can change the shape of things. You can change the shape of tomorrow. You can change the shape of even something that happened you years ago and for which you've never had a resolution. You can change the shape of it by the story that you tell about it and by the willingness to let go of, something that's no longer working for you. Again, does that make sense? I think I'm losing you all a little bit. Are you with me? I'll give you the opportunity to share or ask questions. But I just wanted to finish up with this other aspect of compassion, that it's not just for those who are in a worse condition than myself, but two people come to mind. And one is not only a hero for this country, but for the world, in the form of Nelson Mandela. And so what was his compassion? Was he looking at people less than himself or in a worse condition than himself? No, his compassion, the quality of his compassion, the wisdom of his compassion, that he had it for his enemies, for those who had made him suffer and made his people suffer. He had compassion for them, not just, right? Do you see that? Do you see that? And, okay, I think I'll leave it there. I could talk about Christ to some degree as well, which was another kind of compassion. But do you see the different kinds of compassion? That it's not just for the weak one. You can feel stronger than them, but the compassion that allows you to forgive your enemies. Because who is going to come out best in those transactions? Ultimately, you are. You're going to grow bigger because of it. But also, compassion for me should be such that I see you as an extension of myself. And what I would do for me, I would do for you. That's, I think, the wisdom of compassion. You do not make a distinction between you and the other. And that way you don't count, you don't question, that you just move into a loving action. We leave it there, and will we do the meditation first, or will we have questions? Where's my MC? Or if you have a question. And so, is compassion something that we need today? More than ever for ourselves and for everyone else, especially if I think they're different or whatever. But every human being is me to some extent. As is very often the case when I go on tour somewhere, that the intention is, on the basis of the invitation that I've received, to conduct retreats, give talks, etc. So it would seem that I'm the one that's imparting the wisdom, but actually at the end of the day, I'm the student. I'm the one that learns. And so because compassion has been the topic in many cases, and wisdom and various other things, then I've had to think about it, and I've had to give consideration to my understanding of it, and also the beauty of listening to other people. And so I have a lot to take home with me, and I have already arranged when I get back to Miami to have a roundtable discussion on this topic, because I've learned so much here.